the way that we are communicating as a society is just changing. What started off very simply in a very rudimentary form of broadcast advertising has morphed over time. Billboards are probably one of the oldest forms of mass communication. It goes, excuse me, way back to antiquity. So think about the pyramids and the messaging that was on there. That was certainly a message meant for the population of the time, and it worked very efficiently. We have fast forwarded to the print. So in 1450, the printing press was created, and mass communications changed forever. Right? That since changed with the invention of radio, and then TV, and then, as we all know and love it, the internet. But even the internet that came out in like 94, 95 time frame is not the final destination. Where we're at right now, mobile is dominating for sure, and apps, individual apps, is what we're talking about more than anything when it comes to digital marketing. So there's a lot that we could cover. Right? We talked already very briefly about things that we call traditional marketing and advertising, like billboard, print, TV, radio, and digital, which covers the internet and everything else since the internet has been created, really. So again, as a business, where should you put your focus? And that's what I'm going to cover tonight. So, two different big buckets of marketing and advertising. Traditional, right, the ones that came first, and digital, the ones that came after and with the internet. This chart here shows you how much time people are spending in each one of these big buckets of marketing and advertising. Now, you probably won't be surprised to know that more people are spending time on digital than in traditional advertising and media. I don't think that comes as a big surprise. But the crossover, and not only the crossover, but the angle since the crossover, I think is pretty significant. So we have already crossed over into a digital age. Now, what does this mean for small businesses, medium businesses, actually any business? Where are they putting their money? So first, let's take a look at billboards. That's the oldest form. That has been fairly stable. 5% growth, which is fine, right? It's stable. So billboards, out of home, any kind of basically like poster that communicates a message is considered billboard or out of home, and it's doing fine. It's not doing amazing, but it's doing fine. Newspapers. What do you think about that? Is that surprising? All right, so we've all seen it here, right, with the Virginia Pilot. We've seen it with the Daily Press. It's unfortunate. Some of us love journalism. We love newspapers, but this is the reality of today. So what we're looking at here in particular is the advertising budget that's coming in, or the advertising revenue, I should say, the ad revenue that's coming in to these different kinds of media. What I'm trying to do is figure out where's the money going, because that is a big indicator of where we need to be thinking about in the future. Newspapers have taken a huge hit in the last 14, 15 years. Magazines, taking a bigger hit. This actually kind of surprised me a little bit. I thought newspapers was going to be less than, or bigger hit than magazines. But magazines, basically the same industry, really, if you will, as newspapers, taking a hit. Let's look at some other ones. Radio. Now, keep in mind, radio got clobbered when the TV came out. Well, it's continuing to just get beat up. So, radio is still relevant. I listen to it every once in a while. I hear a lot of commercials. And what do you guys do when you hear the commercials in radio? Change the channel. So, they're taking a hit. TV. Surprising. We love our TVs, right? People love to chill out on the couch and watch TV, but it's taking a hit. Money is moving away from these industries. Do you know where it's going to? Internet. Huge spike, just enormous spike. So what this is showing is where bigger advertisers in particular are moving their money when it comes to how they're going to advertise to the public. They're moving it away from one form of marketing and advertising and into the internet. But the internet encompasses a lot of things. So let's break it down just a little bit. Similar to Kevin's slide, there's a ton. There's so much that we could cover. And there's so much that's coming out every single day. Like literally every single day, without fail, there is a big breaking change when it comes to the internet, when it comes to social media, when it comes to search. Something that you need to know about. It's impossible to watch all of this unfold in real time unless that's your day job. Well, that is our day job. This is what we do. So instead of trying to go through all of this and talk about every single thing that's in here, which I would love to do if you had, a week, we're going to talk about what we consider to be the pillars of marketing, in particular modern marketing. All right, so that's websites, online advertising, SEO, and social media. It's no coincidence those are the questions that Kevin was asking about where you're struggling the most. These 4 things we believe are the pillars to a modern marketing strategy. You need these 4 things, and you need to do an amazing job in these 4 things, and then you can think about adding on other things. This is where the money's going, right? We saw that before, and this is where we think you need to put your attention. So we're going to go step by step into each one of these things. I've only got about 35 minutes, so I can't go super deep into each one of these. I want to just kind of hit the top of the waves, all right? So let's talk about websites first. All right, this is a screenshot of our website. I put this in here because I think it's representative of what we believe is a good above-the-fold layout for a website. So I wanted to point out item by item the things that we're doing here and maybe some lessons that you could extract from what we're doing, and if you want, do it yourself. So the very first thing is the image. This should be one of the first things that catches your eye. You want an image, preferably really big, that somehow says what it is that you do. All right, so this image has to convey, in one image, instead of 1,000 words, what your business does. So for us, digital marketing, it's difficult because the last thing I want is yet another picture of a person behind a laptop clicking away. Like that's what everybody sees. So we wanted a picture that was just a little bit different, that somehow showed what we do. So we picked a picture of downtown Norfolk with businesses, with some sort of social media and e-commerce buy now. Like it indicates that there's something going on electronically as well, right? So that's the whole point of this image. The next thing is what's called the positioning statement. So in one sentence, and preferably in a very, very short sentence, and even better in just a few words, come up with a statement that encapsulates everything that you want someone to know about you. All right, so for us, it's bold marketing for aggressive growth. All right, and this changes, frankly, all the time. We're constantly debating if this is the right message. We had something different just a couple of weeks ago. So it's okay to change your positioning statement and things like taglines as long as you believe that the change is a better representation of your business and your value proposition. The next thing that you should see here is a call to action. So for us, it's very clearly we want people to literally call us. Sometimes you'll see up here, contact us. Sometimes you'll see download this white paper. It doesn't really matter what it is as long as it works for you. But we recommend having a call to action for sure, very clearly above the fold, which means the first thing you see on a web page. And it should be big and bold and very easy to locate. So we want someone to click that button and call us. All right, let's move up to the top. That's usually where the eyes go from a user experience standpoint. And we're going to talk about the menu. The menu, this is your navigation system, we think should contain no more than 5 items. Now, a lot of times people like to just pile in items, and they like to have sub-items, and they make it really complex and difficult for the user. So think about your user and someone, not even your user, this is a potential customer is a better way to say it. Think about how your potential customer is going to perceive coming to your website, and they may know nothing about you. You have to just make it really, really simple. And that's what we're trying to do here. Oh, also notice pricing. Pricing. So this is something that we've had on our website for a long time. We've actually just amplified it. We turned it from like a 300-word article into about 2,000 words, where we go into great detail about what it costs to get digital marketing from us or someone else. Why do we do that? Most people hide behind the sales process and they want to get in front of someone before they ever talk about price. But what do you guys do? You know, when you're shopping for something, you want to know the price. Now, in a situation like ours, it's kind of complex. It's probably complex for your business too, right? Unless you have a price list and you're e-commerce and they can just add stuff to the cart, there's probably, you know, it's probably a conversation. And usually it goes something like this. Well, it depends how much it's going to cost based on a lot of different factors. Let me explain some of those factors. And that's exactly what that link takes you to. It says exactly that. Well, it's complicated, it depends, and here's 7 or 10 different factors that you need to think about, and here's price ranges. The exact same way that we would do that we would say to a prospect if we were sitting across the table from them. Consider putting pricing on your website. And then the last thing is off to the right, you've got the phone number. Once again, we want to reiterate the call to action. We want to make it really obvious how you can get in touch with us. We want to be easy to be found. One last thing is, you're not going to see up there social media badges, the little icons that take you to Facebook. All right, we do not recommend putting social media badges in the header, because if you do, you're just begging for your ideal customer to go off into Facebook land. And once they go there, they may never come out, right? So I would not put social media icons in the header. I think it's worthwhile to have them on your website. We recommend the footer, all right? You work really, really hard to get these prospects to your website. Don't entice them with cat memes and everything else. All right, let's move on. Humanize. I think this is really important. You need to have a face for your business, and the smaller your business, I think the more important this is. People come to small and medium-sized businesses because of the human connection. A lot of businesses, I believe, make the mistake of trying to look much, much bigger and more corporate than actually serves their purpose. You are a human being and you have an interesting personality, unique traits. You should highlight that. So this is exactly what we do. On our About page, we have a video of Kevin and myself, the two founders of the company. And in the very beginning, we're kind of goofing around and someone walks in front of the camera and we're just having fun. But we're introducing ourselves and we're telling our story. And if a picture is worth 1,000 words, then a video is worth 1,000,000. We also have the written word there underneath of it, but we hope that people watch the video. On the right-hand side is some snapshots from our podcast. So we have a daily podcast about growing our agency. It's called Journey to $100 Million. But we actually put all of that on our website as well. Because we're producing content, we want it to be found everywhere. Put it on the website. You can see at the bottom right is show notes, which will get picked up by Google. And if people want to listen, they can click in the middle box there and they can hear us talking about whatever it is that we talk about on the show. It humanizes the content. All right? So put a face to your business, put a voice to your business, and preferably it should be yours. Lead magnets are very, very powerful. A lead magnet is something that someone can get. It's something of value to them. It's something that shouldn't cost them anything besides maybe their email address. So we have one. We're going to send it to everybody here. So it's Digital Marketing Trends for 2020. We wrote that in December. Everything in there is still pertinent. It goes over all the emerging trends. So you'll get that. But this is also on our website. If you were to go to the home page and scroll down a little bit, you would see that we have a section with that image and a description talking about it and saying, come and get this thing. And if you click on the button, we'll ask for your email address because, well, we can do a lot of things with that email address, some of the things that we'll go into later. A few more things that are super important for a website these days. Speed. All right? So your website needs to be as fast as possible. This is an example of an extreme case, and I think Wicked Fast is the name of the web page, right? This gets a 100% in Google's performance tool called Page Insights. Page Speed Insights is what it's called. If you Google for Google Page Speed Insights, you can put in any URL, and it will bring back how Google thinks it's performing from a speed and technical perspective. Your goal is to get as close to 100 as possible. It's very, very difficult. Actually, I've never seen 100 except for in this example. Google really cares about speed. Google also very much cares about being mobile friendly. A term like mobile friendly is a term that you've probably heard about for a long time, but we've actually moved past that to mobile first. Have you heard of mobile first or mobile friendly? Is anyone, I'm sure this sounds familiar, right? Okay. So it used to be like mobile responsive, meaning that you want your desktop web page to respond and become smaller on mobile devices. We actually call it desktop responsive now. So Google, when it runs through the internet and it figures out what web pages have good SEO value, it's doing that as if it were doing it from a phone. It's a mobile first index. Desktop doesn't mean much these days. All right, so a couple of key takeaways. And again, I wish I could go super nerdy deep on this, but I can't. So just to kind of like summarize some of the things we talked about, you definitely want very clear messaging. You want it so that when someone comes to your website, they know exactly what you do. Don't make them guess. Don't be clever. Just say what you do. You want a very conspicuous call to action, preferably a button that they can click on and something happens. Get rid of those social media badges, put them in the footer, be human, and generate leads with a lead magnet. And then last, and very important, fast and mobile responsive. All right. I will open it up for questions and answers after all this. All right. Next, we're going to move into online ads. All right, here is an example of an online ad that we think does fairly well. So you can see it's grayed out, but there was a Google query, and up popped the ad. This was in the #1 position. Now, we actually recommend that you don't aim for #1 all the time. #1's great, right? You love being a #1, but it's expensive. So if you can afford it, great. Top 3, right? So you want to be in the, if you're going to run Google ads, you want to be in the top 3. But what's great about Google ads, and I'm sure this is no breaking news to you, Google ads are very efficient. They've been around for a long time, but there's an intent. Right? So at the moment that the person has the intent to find a solution, you can be right there with an ad. These ads do get clicked on. There's a couple components here to point out. So you can see we have the hyperlinks underneath, right? Those site links. You can kind of tweak your website so that the appropriate site link shows up or doesn't show up. There's also a phone number there. If you set it up correctly, they can actually click on that phone number right there, right in the ad, and the phone starts ringing. Pretty cool stuff. Also think about the titles of your ads. That's what's in the blue, the big text, and then also the description. But again, you want to be super clear about your messaging. Right? Don't get fancy. But also, the closer that you can get to the actual search term, the better. Usually that means having a lot of different ads. Facebook ads. Facebook ads are very, very powerful. And a lot of people think that they're a better bargain right now than Google ads. Here is 2 examples from an organization that we help. And which of these ads do you think performed better? So just shout out left or right, real quick. Left, actually, let's do this. Left. Left? Right? I don't know which one won. The thing is, it doesn't matter, because they both performed well, but only for a period of time. So what we've noticed through ad campaigns like this one and others, when there is creative involved in particular, when there's images or video, is these ads suffer from what's called ad fatigue. And what that means is, and you probably experienced this, TV commercial, radio commercial, print commercial, you probably experienced it in Facebook. You see the same ad over and over again, after a couple of times you ignore it. It's like it doesn't exist. So the one on the left was actually one that we got from a different chapter of this professional organization, and they said, this one does amazing. And we tried it, and they were right. It did amazing. It outperformed all the other ads. We probably had a dozen running at the time. It did great for a while, and then it started to do not so great, and the cost per click went up. And so we decided to create more versions of it. And now the version on the right outperforms the version on the left so much that we turned the best one before we turned it off. So when it comes to things like Facebook advertising, you have to think about ad fatigue and what it costs in time, energy, or money to refresh those ads. You cannot just put an ad in place and forget about it. If you do that, you're going to notice, if you pay attention, your costs go way up and the effectiveness goes way down over time. Something really cool that we can do is what's called retargeting. So as an example, if you went to our website in the last 2 months or so, and especially if you went to the right web page, then we retargeted you in Facebook with an ad like this for State of Digital Marketing address. So you can get a little snippet of code from Facebook, you can put it on your website, and when someone goes to your website, Facebook puts like a little crumble cookie, right, on that computer. And then when that person comes back into Facebook, Facebook knows that you were there. And if you advertise, then you can show a relevant ad to the person. Ideally, it's something that says, you were looking at this product or you were looking at our service and you didn't pull the trigger, and here's what you missed out on, or here's what you're about to miss out on. This has high intent, not quite as high as Google ads, because the person is searching at that moment in Google, but you know that this person is somewhat interested in what you're offering because they went to your website. So retargeting is very powerful. It's money well spent because you already spent money or effort to get them to your website, and you can compound the benefit of all that work by retargeting them. You can also retarget in places like YouTube. So Google has the exact same functionality. If you put in a query on the left, then we could retarget you with a pre-roll or mid-roll, basically a video ad in places like YouTube. We could also do this throughout the internet if we want, but YouTube is very effective. So this is another way that you can retarget. There's other ways beyond this, but these are 2 very effective ways to retarget. So again, just like with websites, I wish I could go super deep and super nerdy, but we want to get you out of here at a decent time. So takeaways. Search ads. Search ads are perfect when you want to get in front of someone at the moment that they have the intent. They've been around for a while, so they are getting a little on the expensive side, but they're highly effective. Social media ads, you could really slice and dice the population for things like demographics, age, sex, educational level, and what's called psychographics, which I didn't go into, but psychographics are things like what they're interested in. Are they a football fan? And that would be probably a decent example of a psychographic. And then you can retarget with these ads, whether it's in a place like YouTube or a place like Facebook or a place like Instagram. These are all techniques that we recommend very, very highly. This works. SEO, search engine optimization. The key to search engine optimization, which was a very high result in the poll that Kevin did, is what's on your website. Now there's other factors, there's on page, there's off page, but the bulk of your SEO value comes from the words that are on your website and what you do with those words. But the basics are that you want content on your website that a human being would be interested in reading. And that last part's important, because it's not just a whole bunch of keyword stuffing and throwing that keyword all over the place. If a person's not interested in it, Google's to the point where they're sophisticated enough where their algorithm realizes that. And they won't reward you. They may not penalize you, but they won't reward you. So the screenshot that I have here is from our website, all of the articles. We write articles non-stop. What are we producing now? About an article a week, at least. And we'd love to ramp it way up. So think about the questions that your customers have that they're going to type into Google. Whatever that question is, write an article about it. And be very, very focused on that article. Stick to that topic, but go super deep. Inch wide, mile deep. Google will pick it up eventually, and hopefully they'll reward you. So that when someone types that title of your article or something very close, your article will come up in the search results. They'll click through. Now they're on your website. Once they're on your website, what can you do? You can retarget them. You can also give them a lead magnet. You can get their email address. Right? There's a lot of things you could do, but you got to get them out of one system like Google and into another that's yours. All right, more and more we are seeing things like position zero happening. This is an example of an article that we wrote. We also have a video on that page, which helps with SEO. The video is the exact same content as the written word on this article, but Google likes to see a video going along with each article. And this is where when you type in this phrase, traditional versus digital advertising, not only are we number one, but we're actually what's called number 0. This is position 0. And you get this little card here at the very top, above the normal results. This is what you want to strive for. You want to be position 0 as much and as frequently as possible. So think about these searches that people do. Those searches are going to turn into keywords and articles, and that's what you need to be writing about. And again, write about it very narrowly, but very, very deep. So on this particular article, we didn't think it was going to be a hit for us. It was just something that, frankly, I wrote probably some weekend. We put it on the website. It was okay. And then we started to notice that it was climbing in the rankings, and we were getting more and more people clicking through from Google to our website. So at some point, we upped our game, and we rewrote it, made it longer. We saw improvement. We added the video. We saw improvement. We did more. We did more. We did more. What percentage of our traffic comes from this? 50? 30? More than 50%. From this one article. It's crazy. So with SEO, if you focus, you can have good results. But here's the real issue. Zero SERP. All right, so the other one was called position 0. That's where you actually do make the search results. Zero SERP is where Google puts the answer at the top. All right, now this is a threat for businesses, and it's something you should really think about. Depending on what business you're in, this could be a significant threat for you. So, how to test for mobile friendly. This was a search that I did. And I was putting this talk together a couple weeks ago because I couldn't remember the URL, and up popped the answer from Google. I didn't have to go to some other website. I just went right into Google. Google had the text box, and I put in what I would normally put into someone else's website. This is Google providing functionality that they normally delegated to a website potentially like yours. Calculator, same exact thing. All right? Here's another one. I thought about going vegan for a while. So I was looking for vegan food that has protein, and up popped this one. Yeah, and I didn't know how to say it. I didn't want to say Satan. That didn't sound right. And so I was like, this is literally what I typed in. And the answer came up with a little speaker. You can click it, and you can find out that it's pronounced Satan. I didn't know that. This is something I would normally have gone over to dictionary.com, run my query. Dictionary.com would have showed me an ad, and then the little speaker would have popped up there. I would have got to hear it. No more. I don't need to do that anymore. So imagine if your business was dictionary.com. This is a massive threat to you. So something that if you rely on something like one of these three in order to get traffic or whatnot, you rethink what you're doing. Google wants to keep you in their ecosystem, and they'll do whatever they can to keep you there. Voice SEO. So when we say the phrase voice, what we're really talking about are things like the Amazon Alexa and Echo and Google Home. That's really kind of the voice ecosystem. And we mess around with that a little bit. It's not a service that we offer, but we're very in tune with what's going on with voice. Voice is making its way over to normal SEO. When someone puts in a phrase in Google, and especially when they say it, right? So how many of you have done this? You go to google.com on your phone, and you press the little microphone, and you say whatever it is that you're searching for. That's a voice search. You're using normal language. You may use it in different words and in different order and different contexts even than if you were to actually type it in. So this is what search SEO is all about. A lot of searches. I don't have the stat off the top of my head, but a ton of searches, certainly around 30% these days, maybe 20%, are happening through voice search. This is a big up-and-coming thing. The way that you get found through voice searches is to have voice content on your website. And a very, very, very good way to do that is take the reviews that people have given you that may be on other websites, maybe on Facebook or even in Google, and bring them into your website. It does two things. Obviously, it's validation right off the bat. It helps your prospective customer know that you're legit and you've had previous customers, which is great. But from the voice SEO perspective, this is someone kind of rambling on about what you do in a long, probably not well thought out format. This is very, very good for search SEO. So if you have those kinds of reviews, get them on your website immediately. Next, something really important for local businesses. As a matter of fact, this is probably one of the biggest things that you could do for a local business if you want to be found in a local proximity, in a physical location, and that is Google My Business. So what I have here is I did a Google search where I knew that our information was going to come up on the right, our Google My Business is going to come up on the right, and there it is. Let's go into this in a little bit of detail. So blew it up a little bit. The very first thing is reviews. These reviews are super important. Google likes for you to have Google reviews. Now, you may be asking people to give you a review in places like Facebook or somewhere else. We recommend always ask for a Google review. It's questionable exactly how much influence this has on your search rankings and SEO, but it's estimated somewhere between 12 and 25%. Google wants to see lots of 5-star reviews. The more, the better. So we recommend always ask for a Google review, every single time. And then the next thing is this address. This is really simple, but make sure it's correct. Project out 5 to 10 years. We already have autonomous vehicles. But one day, when you leave an event like this, you're going to hop into a driverless Uber. And you're going to say, take me to Array Digital. If that address is wrong, you're going to get dropped off somewhere you don't want to get dropped off, right? This will affect businesses, certainly affect retail in particular. So make sure that that's correct. It's super simple, all right? You just need to make sure that what's there represents the truth. A few more things that are really important when it comes to SEO. In Google My Business, there's a place where anybody can ask a question and it can be answered. Now, you as the business owner or the marketer or whoever's representing the business can ask a particular question that you'd like to answer. Think about what your customer's asking you. Think about when you're in a sales situation and they ask you a question and you answer it in person. Ask that question and then answer it yourself as the business. We have done experiments in the office where we have seen an immediate, literally within seconds of us putting in a question and an answer, that our listing increased in ranking. Very powerful. So Google uses this. Think about the questions that your customers ask you. Also in Google My Business, there's something called posts. Not a lot of people use this. It's very similar to an Instagram style post. You can't put as much text in, but it's an image, it's a square image, and then you have some information you can put in there. We've run another experiment where we decided to put in a post with a particular keyword that we were gunning for, and we saw an instantaneous improvement in SEO value. Now, the instantaneous part is what amazed us, because SEO is not an instantaneous thing. You don't put an article up and check 5 minutes later and you're number one. That doesn't happen. SEO is a long game. It takes months, many months, maybe a year really. It's a big investment. But this will give you an instant boost. It's free. Google wants you to use it. So use it. Lots of different things we covered here. We went into some decent depth on SEO. So SEO is about writing. There's more to it, but the core is writing. So start writing. Get comfortable writing. If that's not you, find someone in your organization to write. If you can't find anybody, hire somebody. Get written content on your website. That's the basics. There's more to it, but that's the basics. You want to increase in ranking, preferably to position 0. Think about voice and how you can incorporate voice. Reviews, get those reviews onto your website. And Google My Business, go all in on. If there's a Google My Business feature, use it. It's that simple. You'll get great SEO value out of it. All right, we've covered 3 out of the 4 pillars. You know, I was really surprised that in Kevin's poll, social media wasn't number 1. I expected that to be number 1. And the reason is, it's constantly changing. You know, Kevin mentioned TikTok. How many people here have heard of TikTok before coming in here? All right, wow, quite a bit. I'm surprised, actually. The other one, the new coolness is Byte. How about Byte? Byte, B-Y-T-E, Byte app. Who's heard of Vine? Remember Vine that got killed by Twitter? Well, Vine's back, but now it's called Byte. It's not owned by Twitter. Right? Byte. So it's like a 6-second looping. I got it on my phone just to play with it. But there's always something new coming out in social media. All right. What's the tagline here? What happens in Vegas? What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, right? Right. This has been in place for years. Not anymore. So they literally changed their tagline. Why? Because it doesn't stay in Vegas anymore. Social media. People are taking pictures and they're sharing them. Right? So the tagline didn't apply anymore. They had to update based on the times. So, are people really using social media? This chart shows you what's going on here. And at the very top, you have Facebook. But you can see that a huge number of people are in Facebook every single day. Is this a surprise to you? No. We know people are in Facebook. That's where you waste time, right? So people are, what is it? So Once a week is over 90%. Over 90% of the people that use Facebook are in it at least once a week. People are using it, right? They're in social media. How long? Well, every time they go in, every single day, they're spending 3 hours in social media. I'm not making this up. This came from someone else. What are they doing there? Well, sometimes they're actually asking for recommendations. Have you done this? Have you seen this? Hey, anybody know a good plumber? I mean, you could find this out yourself, right? But people prefer to go ask their friends. So people are actively looking for recommendations on social media. Some people will say, well, yeah, but my customers aren't on there. I service a older demographic or a younger demographic, or it's different for me. Well, I don't know about that. So this chart, a lot of lines and a lot of curves and everything, but as you can see, the younger the demographic, the more time they are spending in social media. Older folks aren't spending quite as much time, but they're spending time in there. They're there. My parents are on Facebook. How many people's parents are on Facebook? Yeah, they're there, right? They're all there. Now, I just mentioned Facebook, but this app, Instagram, is the new hotness, right? How many people are on Instagram? How many people love Instagram? Super hot, right? It's been all the rage for the last couple of years. But the thing is, with Instagram, the people that are on it are about the only people that are going to be on it in a few years. It is not growing. Some of the social media that's out there has kind of peaked, right? So what I'm trying to show here is not that Instagram sucks because it's not growing as fast as maybe you thought it was growing, but the thing is that this isn't something that's coming. Anyone who's going to be on Instagram in particular, and this is representative of Facebook as well, anyone who's going to use it is likely already there, which means that it's not something that's coming, it's here. Well, where exactly do people spend this 3 hours a day? Right? They're on it once a week, once a day, once a week at worst, for the most case. They spend 3 hours, they're asking their friends, where? There's a lot of different choices. Well, here's the answer. YouTube is not exactly a social media platform. It's up there as a platform, an online platform, but the key here is Facebook. I mean, just look at this. So even though we all may love Twitter or we love Instagram, the reality is people are on Facebook. What does this mean for you as a business owner? Where do you want to be? You want to be on Facebook. All right. Next, you want to be on Instagram. For most businesses, most of the time. Now, if your demographic skews super young, maybe it's totally different. But these are the platforms that you want to be on if you want to get in front of people. So, how are advertisers, these are people that spend money on advertising, how are they responding to all of this? It's very similar to that internet chart that I showed earlier. There's a clear signal here on how others are spending their money. Where are they spending it? For the most part, Facebook and Instagram. Not complicated. That's where people are, and if you want to get in front of people, that's where you go. Last thing I want to touch on are likes. All right, so you've probably heard, maybe you've even seen where Instagram is hiding likes. Who here doesn't see likes anymore in their posts? Like I'm pretty sure I still do, at least the last time I checked. They're rolling this out. So they're getting rid of likes. And a lot of people in the industry like that. They think that likes are not a good metric of engagement. Likes are very simple. You can do a flyby. Click, I like it, and you move on, right? It doesn't really mean much. It's a vanity metric. What's more important, though? A what? Engagement, yes. A comment. A comment is more important, right? Algorithms love comments because you have to stop, you got to click it in the text box, you got to think about what you're going to say, you know your friends are going to see it, you put more thought into it, it's a little bit longer, it's certainly a lot longer than just a click. Very, very important. Algorithms love comments. So for business, what does that mean? That means ask for, or gun for comments. You may not want to outright ask for it. As a matter of fact, sometimes that's like a no-no. But you want comments much, much more than you want likes. So think about creating social media posts where people will respond. You can ask a question, have them respond, right? Get their opinion, engage. That's the key. And a drive-by like is not good enough. All right, so to wrap up the fourth pillar, your customers are on social media. You may not think they are for whatever reason, but they're there. The population is on social media. They're spending a ton of time there every single day. And while they're there, they are researching products and they're looking for referrals and recommendations. You need to play in this game. Invest in social media. Now, of all the different social media, we've already talked about Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn is one of them, Byte, TikTok. I mean, that right there is, I don't know, 6 or 7. There's more. There's a lot more. Where are you going to focus on? Focus on Facebook. That is the play right now. So again, this is the state of digital marketing. Right now, that's what's working. Next year, maybe totally different. There's a lot of shiny objects that are out there. They take a lot of your attention away from the prize. So focus on Facebook in our recommendation. Instagram is a very close second. Instagram, Facebook, Instagram, Facebook, Instagram, Facebook. That's where you want to be. And then focus on likes. Comments. Focus on comments. Nice comment. All right, let's talk about investment. What does all this cost? So this is a question that we get asked all the time. And basically what I'm going to walk you through is exactly what the answer is on our website. How much should you put into all this? What's your return on investment? What makes sense? Should you spend $5 or $500,000? Well, a lot of it actually depends on your revenue. So this is a good way to get a gauge on how much you should set aside for marketing and advertising. Again, this is not me making up these numbers. This is a CMO survey that says right now, about 9.5% of your revenue, which I think, frankly, is high. It seems high to me, but that's what people are spending on digital marketing. So think about how much you're spending on your marketing and advertising. Is it 9.5%? Well, if it's not, there are other people out there that are outspending you and getting better results than you. Now, within the 9.5%, you can break this down even further. Depending on what kind of customer you go after, are your customers other businesses or are your customers individual people? That's B2B, which is business to business, and B2C, business to consumer. Then also, do you offer a service or a product? And so this CMO survey here asks the question, how much do you spend? And then grouped by B2B, B2C, service, product, as you can see. And some of these numbers are much higher. 15.6% if you're a B2C service. That's a lot. I think it's a lot. I mean, I would love it if everyone came to us and they're like, hey, I want to spend 15% of my budget on digital marketing. I'd be thrilled. But we don't spend 15.6% of our budget, of our revenue, on digital marketing. Now, granted, we have our own folks, and that's what we do for a living, so maybe if you did the math, we do. But it's a lot, right? You need to find a number that's comfortable for you. So, again, if you go to our website and you click pricing, you're going to see this exact same information. So what I want to lay out here is not necessarily our pricing. That's not the goal here. The goal is to give you some options to think about what it's going to take if you want to get in this game or you want to get into it further. So I'm not going to go through all of the data here. You can read it yourself. But we're going to go through websites, online advertising, SEO, and social media. And what it's going to take for you to do it yourself, which is absolutely a viable option, or hire someone to do it as a one-time off project, or hire someone to do it as a continual service. Now what you'll see here is that if you do it yourself, you can save a ton of money. But there's a cost, right? It's your time. So you got to ask yourself, well, do I have time? Do I even have the knowledge? Do I have the time to figure this out? Any one of us can figure anything out given enough time and enough desire, right? So do you want to spend the time to figure it out and do it effectively, or do you want to do something else? It's your question. I would say if you're a smaller company, if you're a startup, do it yourself. Do everything. We get calls all the time from people that want a website, and we tell them the price, and they're like, I can't afford that. And we say, cool. Go to Wix, go to Weebly, go to GoDaddy. You could build it yourself. You can build it in a weekend. It may not be perfect. It may be lacking some features, but you can do it. Lots of good options out there. All right, let's talk about online ads. So again, you could do it yourself. You could hire someone to do a one-time good deal project, or you can do it as a service. You're going to pay either in time or your money. And there's different options here. All right, now if you do this yourself, there is a risk, which I've included. I probably should have included its own column, but there's a risk. You're paying every time someone clicks on that link. Remember I said before that Google ads are kind of expensive now? So potentially several dollars. We've seen clicks as high as $150 per click, which is crazy for some certain industries. But it can get very expensive very quickly. So if you don't know what you're doing, there's a potential to waste a lot of money. And frankly, a lot of clients that we bring on, we get them because we point out that they're wasting hard-earned money on bad clicks that don't convert. So there's pros and cons to lots of different ways. But again, you either pay with your time or you pay with your money. Okay, SEO. Very similar, except with this one, the recommendation that I gave before was start writing and write more. That will get you really far into this game. Also, get into Google My Business. You can do a lot of this stuff yourself, frankly. All right, so get in there. Writing an article on your business should not be that difficult. You may not be super proud of it, but you know what? It gets the job done. So start there. Always try to do this yourself if you can. So write articles, put them on your website. It's not everything you need to do. There's actually a lot more to it, but it's a really, really good start. As you progress, as you have more of a budget, I would think about outsourcing that. Writing articles is kind of a pain. We do a lot of it, but it's worth it to our clients to get good articles on the website that have returns on that investment when people are clicking through. All right, last one, social media. This is one where you can absolutely do it yourself. It'll cost you $0. Right? Take a picture tonight before you leave. Take a picture of you and someone else and post it up on Facebook or on Instagram. Tag that person, and you've just done social media. Right? You've done a really good job. And then continue to do that. Right? 2, 3, 4, 7 times a week. All right. So this is an art form, really, because you need to create engaging content. The creative has to be on point so that people will engage, and it can take some time. All right, so think about that. We don't really consider as a project an option when it comes to social media because it's not something you should just buy and be done with. This is continual posting and continual engagement, and if someone comments on your post, you need to respond. If you don't, it's bad form. You miss out on an opportunity. So as a project, doesn't really apply. As a service, it's probably something you want to be looking at either by hiring someone else or by doing yourself. All right, so that's what it'll cost, generally speaking, lots of different options. And again, just like I said in the beginning of this, it's complicated. It depends on your situation. So one of the things that we actually do for our prospects when they come to us is we will actually look at all these different things. And take a picture of this if you want, because this is what we think is a really good indicator of whether your digital marketing is working or not. So these are the things that we look at when a prospect comes to us. And really our goal is to find problems. There's free tools out there that measure most of these things. So you can take a look at this and figure out how your digital marketing is doing. Now granted, if you don't exactly understand what you're doing or you don't go to the right site, you could have some issues. But this is what you should be looking at. Now, for us, we do this for prospective prospects. There are companies out there that charge for this, and literally down the street from us, near the ocean front, they charge $4,000 for this. So it can be quite expensive to have a professional audit done. One of the things that we do for our prospects is we don't charge for it. It's actually $0. So we run through the 20-point checklist and we figure out where you're at and we give you recommendations. And then you can do what you want with those recommendations. You can do it yourself, you can do it as a project, or frankly, you can hire Array Digital to do it as a service, which obviously is what we want you to do if we're going to spend the time to do it, but it's up to you. So if this is something you're interested in, I encourage you to reach out to me, to Glenn, who's back there, to Kevin, Jake. So we can help you out and get you lined up, and we'll do the audit for you, and we'll show you like where you're doing good, where you're doing bad, and where you need improvement, and what's going well. With that, I will open it up to questions and answers. Thank you.